Rational legal authority can only be realized with the help of a new invention in the coordination of large numbers of people, the so-called bureaucratic organization. The policewoman who fined me for driving in the night through Amsterdam on a bicycle without a light is an official in an enormous organization. The modern bureaucratic organization can be found everywhere today, not just in the world of politics or in law enforcing institutions, but also in modern high schools and universities, in modern hospitals, in the modern army, and last but not least, in modern capitalistic enterprises. What is strikingly similar in that wide variety of social arrangements is that the officials all have gone to specialized educational institutions where they had to follow a long and demanding professional training. They have been taught their job and they had to demonstrate their competence in a series of standardized exams that resulted in official diplomas that carry a seal of approval by the state. One of the things that the officials to be have learned is that they should separate their private lives from their professional tasks. If they would, for example, give preferential treatment to a member of their own family, this is immediately labeled as corruption, and that kind of fraudulent behavior is severely punished. There is also a very clear division between the time of the day that you spend as an official and the private time that you spend after having left the office. The rules of the bureaucratic organization are standardized and codified. You can look them up in written documents. The officials have to implement them in an impersonal fashion. They should never make an exception to the rule, for example, because of personal sympathies for a client. If the official really sees no other way than to break the rule, then he should report that immediately. And if his superiors agree with what you could call this kind of innovation, then the news is distributed all through the whole organization because he now has created a so-called precedent. That means that from now on, in similar cases, his example will be followed. It has become a sort of new rule, an addition to the existing rules. The worst thing that an official can indulge in is improvisation, playing around with the rules. Sometimes it may be very tempting to bend the codes of conduct a little bit, and that is why the officials must be so severely trained in suppressing their emotions, their impulses. It is clear that all of this is only possible in a very hierarchical organization, an organization with a top-down structure. The officials in the lower ranks have to do exactly and without questions, without objections, what the officials in the higher positions tell them to do. An order is an order. Max Weber believed that the bureaucratic organization is one of the greatest inventions of mankind in modernity. It's a huge social machine that creates the possibility of coordinating the social actions of hundreds or even of thousands of people. In the Western world, the school system, the hospitals or the Internal Revenue Service, they are all dependent on the principles of the modern bureaucracy. And at the same time, there is a kind of ambivalence in Weber. He writes about the disenchantment of modernity, the Entzauberung in German. The magic is driven out. Everything has to be predictable. Every measure must be codified. Inspiration is only a source of unrest. The professional should become somebody without a heart. Now, is that really the world that we want to live in? Weber's hesitant criticism of modernity is very different from Marx's, but the concept of alienation is always tangible. But according to Weber, those problems have nothing to do with the rise of capitalism in itself. They are the outcome of a more general process of rationalization. The modern capitalistic enterprise is just one of the many outcomes of this ongoing process of rationalization. It is the result of the penetration of rationalization into the economic sector of the social world.